The night it all began, Daniel almost didn't go. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror, tie loose around his neck, staring at a man who looked older than his 34 years. A single dad with tired eyes, a coffee-stained shirt, and a heart that hadn't believed in surprises for a long time. His phone buzzed with a message from his friends: "Relax. Just dinner. Trust us." What Daniel didn't know was that this so-called joke date would rewrite everything he thought he knew about love, loss, and second chances. And if you've ever felt like life stopped believing in you, stay with this story until the end, because what happens next might change the way you see your own tomorrow. If this kind of story touches your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss moments like this. Daniel became a single father at 29, the day his wife, Emily, passed away after a sudden illness. One moment they were arguing about groceries, the next he was holding her hand in a hospital room, promising things he didn't know how to keep. After the funeral, life shrank. It became school drop-offs, packed lunches, late bills, and quiet nights when his 6-year-old son, Noah, would ask questions Daniel didn't have answers to. Friends tried to help, but grief has a way of making jokes feel heavy and advice feel distant. Dating was the last thing on Daniel's mind. Love felt like a closed chapter, sealed with pain. That's why, when his friends told him they had set him up on a date, just for laughs, Daniel assumed it would be awkward at best, humiliating at worst. They teased him relentlessly, saying things like, "She's unforgettable," and "You'll thank us later." Daniel agreed only because Noah had a sleepover, and because part of him was tired of saying no to life. He told himself it was just dinner. 1 hour. Then he'd go home and return to the safety of routine. The restaurant was small and warm, the kind of place where candles flickered and the hum of conversation softened the air. Daniel arrived early, nervously tapping his fingers against the table. He imagined his friends laughing somewhere, waiting to hear how badly this would go. Then the door opened, and she walked in. Her name was Clara. She wore a simple dress, her hair pulled back loosely, eyes scanning the room with a quiet curiosity. When her gaze met Daniel's, she smiled, not the forced, polite smile of obligation, but something gentle and real. For a moment, Daniel forgot to stand. Forgot to breathe. This wasn't a joke. Or at least, it didn't feel like one. Their conversation began cautiously. Clara admitted she almost canceled too. She'd been told it was a blind date disaster in the making. They laughed at that, and something in the laughter loosened the tightness Daniel carried. She listened when he spoke about Noah. She didn't flinch when he mentioned his late wife. Instead, she nodded, eyes soft, as if she understood more than he said. When Daniel learned Clara was also carrying her own loss, a broken engagement, a mother she'd lost years ago, the air between them shifted from polite to profound. Hours passed unnoticed. They talked about childhood dreams, about fear, about the strange ways life reroutes us when we're not looking. Daniel felt something unfamiliar stir in his chest, hope. Not the reckless kind, but a careful, trembling hope that asked permission before it stayed. When they finally stood to leave, Daniel realized he didn't want the night to end. What began as one dinner turned into walks after Noah fell asleep, shared coffees, and quiet conversations about the future. Clara didn't try to replace Emily, and Daniel didn't ask her to. She respected the space grief still occupied, while gently creating room for something new. Noah was cautious at first, protective of his father's heart. But Clara knelt to his level, asked about his favorite superheroes, and listened to his stories like they mattered. Slowly, trust grew. The challenges weren't small. Daniel struggled with guilt, wondering if loving again meant betraying the past. Clara battled fear, worried she'd always come second to memories she couldn't compete with. There were arguments, moments of withdrawal, nights when silence felt safer than honesty. But each time, they chose to talk. To stay. To try. Love, Daniel learned, wasn't about erasing pain, it was about carrying it together. The truth about the joke date eventually came out. Daniel's friends confessed they thought he needed a push, something unexpected to break the walls he'd built. Daniel laughed, not in anger, but in disbelief at how close he'd come to missing everything. That joke had given him a second life. Years later, Daniel would look back on that night as the moment everything changed. Not because life became perfect, but because it became full again. Full of laughter, of shared burdens, of a love that honored the past while daring to dream of the future. Standing in the kitchen one morning, watching Clara help Noah with homework, Daniel realized something powerful. Sometimes the universe uses the most unlikely setups to deliver the greatest gifts. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that it's never too late to begin again, show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Because somewhere out there, another joke moment might just be waiting to change your life too.